Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you real quick. Now, fellas, don't get nervous. I'm just telling the truth tonight. Ladies, you ever notice how men can remember everything except their feelings? A man can tell you who won the Super Bowl in 1999. He can tell you the horsepower of a car he doesn't even own. He can tell you what kind of sneakers Michael Jordan was wearing when he dropped 63 points. But when you ask him, "Baby, how do you feel about me?" all of a sudden, he's looking like somebody just asked him to do calculus. Lips tight, eyes looking at the floor, like, bruh, it's just a question, not an FBI interrogation. See, let me explain something. Men been trained since they were little boys. Don't cry. Be tough. Don't you ever show weakness. That's the code. So now, when we grow up, we don't even know what to do with emotions. We know how to fix the sink, fix the tire, fix the grill, but fix what's going on inside. Oh no, that's foreign language right there. Now, ladies, here's where you come in. A man's heart, it ain't locked forever, he got a key. But here's the trick. The key don't turn unless you say the right words at the right moment. It's not about nagging, it's not about pushing. It's about timing, it's about tone. It's about knowing how to step into his world without making him feel like he's under attack. Because let me tell you something, men may act tough, but we crave connection too. We crave peace, we crave safety. We just don't always know how to say it. That's why when you get it right, when you say it in the moment he least expects, that door swings open. And when it opens, oh, you're going to see a side of him he don't show nobody else. That's when you unlock not just his heart, but his soul. Timing is everything, ladies. Let me break it down for you. Timing is everything when it comes to getting a man to open up emotionally. You can say the most powerful words in the world, but if you say them at the wrong time, they'll fall flat. They won't land. It's like planting a seed in dry soil. You won't see any growth, no matter how good that seed is. But when you wait for the right season, the right moment, suddenly that seed takes root. It flourishes. It grows into something strong. That's exactly how it works when you want to reach a man's heart. See, men are wired differently. A lot of us weren't raised to sit down and talk about our feelings. We were raised to be providers, protectors, problem solvers. So when life hits us hard, our instinct is to shut down, to retreat into ourselves, to fix it alone. That doesn't mean he doesn't want to share. It just means he's waiting for the right moment when it feels safe to let you in. And if you try to force that door open before he's ready, he'll shut it tighter. Timing isn't about pushing, it's about creating space and being patient enough for the right opening. Picture this, your man comes home after a long, stressful day. He's tired, worn out, maybe even a little short with you. If you pick that moment to ask, "Why don't you ever talk to me about what's bothering you?" you're not going to get the response you want. That's like trying to squeeze water from a stone. But if you wait, if you let him unwind, if you show him you see him and you're not pressuring him, he's far more likely to come to you. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just sit beside him in silence, let him breathe, and then when the time feels right, say something gentle like, "I'm here when you're ready." That one line said at the right time can open a floodgate. Now, don't get it twisted. Timing isn't about walking on eggshells. It's about paying attention. Watch his energy, read his body language, feel the rhythm of the moment. When he's relaxed, when he's laughing, when he's showing you glimpses of his softer side, that's when you plant your words. That's when you can lean in and ask, "What's on your heart lately?" Or, "I notice you've been carrying a lot. Want to share it with me?" It's not just what you say, it's when you say it. The same sentence at the wrong time gets you a wall. That same sentence at the right time gets you a window into his soul. And here's the truth, ladies, men, remember how you make them feel in those moments. If he feels like you're patient with him, that you don't demand or nag, that you're willing to wait until he's ready, he's going to trust you more. He's going to feel safer opening up because he knows you won't weaponize his vulnerability. You see, timing builds trust. It says, I'm not here to force you, I'm here to walk with you. And when a man feels that, he'll give you access to parts of himself he doesn't show the world. Think of it like music. You can have the most beautiful notes in the world, but if you play them offbeat, it sounds messy. But when you play them in rhythm, when the timing is right, it creates harmony. Relationships are no different. Words spoken too early can sound like noise. Words spoken at the right time, they sound like love. So don't underestimate the power of timing. It's not about saying more. It's about saying it when the moment is open. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and patience opens doors that pressure could never touch. When you master the art of timing, you stop chasing his emotions. You invite them. And that's when you'll see him open up, not because he was forced, but because the timing was right and you became the safe place he needed all along. Ask, don't accuse, ladies. Let me tell you something real clear. If you want a man to open up emotionally, you've got to learn the difference between asking and accusing. The way you frame your words can either build a bridge or build a wall. And too often, we don't realize how our tone, our phrasing, or even our timing can make a man shut down completely. See, men are sensitive when it comes to being judged, even if they don't show it. They want to feel respected, not interrogated. They want to feel understood, not attacked. That's why asking is powerful, but accusing will slam the door in your face every single time. Let's make this practical. Imagine you've noticed your man has been distant lately. You feel the change. Now, if you hit him with, why are you ignoring me? Who are you talking to? What's your problem? That's an accusation. And the second he hears that, his defenses go up. He's not thinking about answering you honestly. He's thinking about protecting himself from what feels like an attack. But if instead you say, hey, I noticed you've been a little quiet lately. Are you okay? That's an invitation. That's an open door. That's you saying, I care about what's happening inside you. Not, I'm here to catch you doing wrong. And trust me, men respond to that difference. When you accuse, it sounds like judgment. When you ask, it feels like compassion. One puts him on trial, the other puts him at ease. Accusations make him feel like you already decided the verdict without giving him a chance to speak. Questions, though, real, gentle, curious questions, make him feel like you actually want to hear his truth. And here's the secret: men don't like to feel trapped. But if you give him space to explain himself, to open up on his own terms, you'll be surprised at how much he'll tell you. Now, don't get it twisted. Asking doesn't mean you avoid the hard stuff. It doesn't mean you tiptoe around the truth. It simply means you frame it in a way that leaves room for honesty. Instead of, why don't you ever talk to me? Try, what helps you feel most comfortable opening up? Instead of, you don't care about me, try, sometimes I feel a little distant from you. How do you feel about us lately? You see the difference. One shuts him down, the other invites him in. Think of it like opening a locked door. Accusations are like trying to kick the door down. You make a lot of noise, but the door stays shut. Questions are like using a key. You unlock it slowly, carefully, and eventually the door opens wide. That's how you unlock a man's emotions. You don't pound on the door, you ask to come in. And let me tell you this, men remember how you handle these moments. If he feels like every time he shares something, you twist it back on him or use it against him, he'll stop sharing altogether. But if he feels that when he speaks, you truly listen, you respect his words, and you don't jump to conclusions, he'll start to trust you more with his inner world. Respect is the foundation of emotional openness. And asking instead of accusing is one of the most powerful ways to show respect. At the end of the day, the words you choose can either push him away or pull him closer. So if you want a man to open up emotionally, stop firing accusations like bullets. Start asking questions that feel like open doors. Show him you're not there to attack, you're there to understand. Because when a man feels understood instead of accused, that's when he'll give you access to the deepest parts of his heart. Mirror his silence, ladies. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is say absolutely nothing. Silence is a language, and if you learn how to speak it, you'll find it's one of the most powerful tools you've got. See, when a man pulls back, when he goes quiet, most women's instinct is to chase. You start over texting, over calling, over explaining, hoping to pull him back in. But here's the truth. Chasing only pushes him further away. Instead, you've got to learn to mirror his silence. That doesn't mean playing games or trying to win. It means matching his energy and showing him that your peace, your confidence, and your life are not dependent on his attention. When a man pulls into his cave, it's usually for two reasons. Either he's sorting through something in his mind, or he's testing how much space he can take without consequences. If you fill that space with constant noise, you rob him of the chance to miss you. But if you mirror his silence, you give him the gift of distance. And in that distance, he starts to feel the weight of your absence. He notices the empty space where your voice used to be, the gap in his day where your presence once filled the room. That quiet hits different when he realizes you're not scrambling to close it for him. Mirroring his silence isn't about punishment. It's about alignment. If he's not talking, you don't force it. If he's distant, you don't beg. You let him sit with his own choices. And let me tell you, silence has a way of making people reflect. He'll begin to ask himself questions. Why hasn't she reached out? Is she moving on? Did I take her for granted? See, the mind plays tricks in silence. And for the first time, instead of you overthinking about him, he's overthinking about you. That's the power of mirroring. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Steve, what if he forgets me? What if my silence makes him think I don't care? Let me flip that for you. If a man can forget you just because you gave him space, then he was never holding you close to begin with. Your silence doesn't push away the right man. It pulls him closer, because the right man values your presence enough to notice when it's missing. The wrong man will take advantage of your constant availability. But the right man, he'll feel the sting of your absence and realize he can't afford to lose it. Here's another layer. Mirroring his silence is also about protecting your energy. Constantly chasing, fixing, and talking drains you. But when you step back and hold your ground, you conserve your strength. You reclaim your dignity. You remind yourself that your worth isn't tied to how much noise you can make in his life. Instead, it's in how calmly you can carry yourself, even when he doesn't give you what you want. That calm silence, that self-respect on display. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're in a dance. He steps back, but instead of rushing forward to close the gap, you stay still. You let the music keep playing, but you don't chase his steps. Eventually, he notices he's dancing alone. And if he wants the rhythm back, he's got to step forward again. That's what silence does. It teaches him that you're not going to do all the work to keep the dance alive. He has to meet you where you are. So remember this, silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. When you mirror his quiet, you let him experience what life feels like without your constant reassurance. And in that pause, in that gap, he starts to recognize your value. Because sometimes the echo of what's missing speaks louder than any words ever could. Share first, then invite ladies. Let me break this down for you. If you want a man to open up emotionally, you've got to show him how. Too many women sit back waiting for a man to bare his soul like it's a magic trick. But that's not how men work. Most men are taught from childhood to hide their feelings, to keep everything bottled up, to never look weak. So when you expect him to just spill his heart without you setting the tone, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. That's why I tell you, share first, then invite. You've got to lead with vulnerability if you want vulnerability in return. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean unloading every detail of your life all at once. It means giving him small pieces of your truth. The kind that says it's safe here. When you say, I had a rough day at work and I felt unappreciated, you're not just sharing your story, you're modeling how to express feelings. You're showing him that emotions aren't scary, that they don't make you weak, and that this relationship can handle honesty. And when you do that, you invite him without pressure to step into that same space. Think of it like opening a door. If you want someone to come in, you don't drag them through the doorway. You open the door wide, you smile, you step back, and you say, come on in when you're ready. Sharing first is that open door. It's you saying, this is how I express myself, and you're welcome to do the same. That's powerful. Because for many men, emotions are a locked vault, and they won't hand over the key until they know they won't be judged or dismissed. The beauty of this approach is that it creates balance. If you're always demanding answers, interrogating him, or trying to force conversations, he's going to shut down. But if you go first, calmly, honestly, and with intention, you set the tone. You're not telling him talk. You're showing him, here's how it's done. And trust me, men notice that. They notice the difference between someone who attacks them with demands and someone who welcomes them with openness. Here's a little truth bomb. Men are more likely to open up in environments where they don't feel like they're failing a test. When you share first, you take the pressure off. You give him a framework, a soft landing. And slowly, he learns that your conversations aren't traps. They're bridges. Bridges to deeper intimacy, to connection, to a place where he doesn't have to pretend anymore. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're hoping to hear him talk about his family struggles. Instead of saying, why don't you ever tell me about your parents? You could say, growing up, my mom and I didn't always get along. It taught me a lot about patience, but it also left me with some scars. Now you've just modeled sharing something meaningful. 9 times out of 10, he'll feel the urge to meet you there. He might start with something small. Yeah, me and my dad had some tough moments too. But that small crack, that's the beginning of emotional openness. Ladies, sharing first isn't weakness. It's leadership. It's saying, I'm willing to go there, and I believe you can too. It's not about oversharing or giving away all your secrets. It's about setting the stage. Because when a man sees you owning your truth, he feels safer to own his. And when he finally does, that's when walls come down, connections deepen, and love stops being surface level and starts being real. Choose words that touch his spirit, ladies. Let me tell you something real. Words can either build a man up or break him down. And when you want him to open up emotionally, it's not just about what you say, it's about how those words land on his spirit. Men might act tough, but deep down they carry insecurities, fears, and doubts they don't always admit. That's why your words matter more than you realize. A careless phrase can make him retreat deeper into his shell, while the right words spoken at the right time can unlock doors he didn't even know he had locked. See, a man's spirit is sensitive. He can handle the world beating him up. His boss society struggles. But when the woman he loves speaks, he feels it differently. Your words echo louder than anyone else's. That's why you've got to be intentional. Don't just throw words at him, aim for his soul. Choose words that affirm, that encourage, that show you see the man he is and the man he's trying to be. Because deep down, every man wants to feel like he's enough, like he matters, like someone believes in him, even when he doesn't fully believe in himself. Now, I'm not saying you sugarcoat everything or avoid truth. No, truth is powerful, but truth delivered with love is transformational. Instead of saying, you never talk about your feelings, try saying, I'd love to know what's on your heart because your thoughts matter to me. Same message, different delivery, and I promise you the second version will get you closer to his emotions than the first. Think about it like this: words are seeds. What you plant today grows tomorrow. If you plant accusations, defensiveness will grow. If you plant encouragement, trust will bloom. When you say, I believe in you, or I'm proud of how you handled that, those words don't just sit on the surface. They sink into his spirit. And when a man feels safe, respected, and valued, he begins to open up in ways you didn't think possible. I'll give you an example. Let's say he's struggling at work, but hasn't opened up about it. If you hit him with, why are you so distant lately? He'll feel attacked. But if you gently say, I've noticed you've been carrying a lot lately, and I just want you to know you don't have to carry it alone. You've just spoken to his spirit. You've shown him he's not being judged, but supported. That's the difference between words that close him off and words that invite him in. And ladies, let's be real, sometimes you want to let your emotions speak before your wisdom does. But you've got to pause and ask yourself, will this sentence build a bridge or build a wall? Because every conversation is either taking you closer to intimacy or pushing you further apart. That's why it's important to slow down, breathe, and choose words that touch, not tear. The truth is, when you master the art of speaking to a man's spirit, you don't just get his words, you get his heart. He'll start telling you things he's never told anyone else. He'll trust you with his fears, his dreams, his pain, and his hopes. Not because you demanded it, but because you created a space where his spirit felt safe to be seen. And that, ladies, is where real connection begins. Don't just listen. Receive, ladies. Let me tell you something a lot of people miss. There's a big difference between listening and receiving. Anybody can listen. Listening is just letting sound hit your ears. But receiving, that's when you let those words settle in, when you take them into your heart without judgment, without interruption, without trying to fix or correct right away. And if you want a man to open up emotionally, you've got to learn how to not just hear him, but to receive him. See, men are not used to being fully received. Out in the world, they're constantly challenged, corrected, or told to man up. So when they finally decide to open their mouth about what's really going on, they're testing the waters. They're asking without asking. Can I trust her with this part of me? Can I be safe here? And the way you respond will determine whether he keeps that door open or slams it shut. Now here's where a lot of women get it wrong. You think listening means preparing your response while he's still talking. You're already crafting advice, already deciding how you feel about what he said. But that's not receiving. Receiving is letting the moment breathe. It's giving him space to get it all out, even if it's messy, even if it comes out slow, even if he stumbles over the words. When you receive, you're not just hearing the sentence, you're catching the emotion underneath it. Imagine this. He finally admits, I feel like I'm failing at work. If you jump in with, oh, you're not failing, you're amazing. Don't worry about it. That sounds supportive, but it actually dismisses the depth of what he's feeling. He doesn't need you to fix it in the moment. He needs you to hold it, to let him know it's safe to sit in that vulnerability. Instead, you could respond with, I hear you. That sounds heavy. Thank you for sharing that with me. That's receiving. That's acknowledging without brushing it aside, without trying to wrap it in a pretty bow. Receiving means you slow down enough to be present with his truth. It means you're not rushing to defend yourself, not rushing to correct him, not rushing to solve everything. You're simply saying, I see you. I hear you. I value what you just gave me. And trust me, for a man, that is gold. Because when he feels received, he feels respected. And when he feels respected, he'll go deeper next time. Ladies, don't underestimate this. Men are emotional beings too. They've just been conditioned to hide it. So when he takes the risk to let you in, you've got to treat those words like treasure. Don't criticize, don't minimize, don't weaponize. Receive. Because receiving creates a cycle. He shares, you receive, he trusts, he shares more. That's how intimacy grows. And let me keep it real with you. Receiving doesn't mean you agree with everything he says. It doesn't mean you don't have your own perspective. It just means you honor his expression first. You let it land before you respond. That's how you build emotional safety. That's how you become not just the woman he loves, but the woman he confides in. And ladies, when you've got his heart in that way, that's when the walls come down, and that's when the love gets real. Unlocking his heart, unlocking your power, ladies. Let me leave you with this truth. Unlocking his heart isn't just about him. It's about you stepping into your own power as a woman who knows her worth, her influence, and her ability to shift the energy of a relationship. You see, when you approach a man with timing, with patience, with words that touch his spirit, and with the ability to truly receive what he gives you, you're not just drawing him closer. You're reminding yourself that you are the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature. You decide the tone. You create the space where love can either grow or die. When you master silence, when you protect your peace, when you choose presence over pressure, you reclaim control. Not control over him, but over yourself. And that's the most powerful thing you can ever hold. Because a woman who knows how to unlock her own strength, her own patience, her own wisdom, she doesn't beg for love. She doesn't chase validation. She doesn't crumble when someone else shuts down. She knows that her power doesn't come from whether a man opens up. It comes from the confidence that she can create a safe place for real love to thrive. So yes, unlocking his heart matters, but unlocking your own power, that's the real win. Because when you know how to stand tall, how to lead with grace, and how to demand respect without raising your voice, then you're not just his partner. You're his peace, his anchor, his safe harbor. And ladies, let me tell you this, when a man finds that in a woman, he knows he's found something he can't replace. So walk out of here today, not just ready to unlock his heart, but determined to never, ever lose sight of your own power.